Good afternoon. It's noon on Monday, the 1st of June, new month, and I'm delighted to be joined by our resident marketeer, Damiano Polcaro, who's an author as well. And I don't know where to say an author and also is a marketing expert. I'm going to get that way around. More important to be an author, but we still have day jobs, most of us. And Sarah Kirwan, who's new to Self Pub Fest, which is fantastic. And so I'm going to leave you, Damiano, to introduce yourself and your books, and then tell us a bit about your marketing. And then we'll go on to Sarah, because I know you just told me you work with authors. So that would be really interesting from the marketing, certainly helping them develop their profiles. So Damiano, good morning, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. I'm Damiano. I am the author of the Bastard series, which is a uh, crime thriller. There's Bastard, the first book, and Karma, that has just come out, uh, last month now. And yes, I am an author, but my day job for the past 20 odd years has been in advertising, communications, and marketing. Um, so uh, I'm a creative director. So my background is in the creative side of things. Worked for several agencies and in-house for large companies like Sky, the broadcaster. And back in 2020, before the world shut down, my business partner and I decided to set up our own company called Mixed Up Makes Better, um, and to do exactly what we have been doing, but in a way that we wanted to do it, and working with brands like so over the course of years, work with brands like Sky, eBay, worked with DHL, worked with Kangol, worked with TravelX, worked with lots and lots of big brands and lots of smaller brands as well. Um, so some more local, but the majority of them kind of national or international. And and now, as an author, I have a brand of my own,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about and how that works and how it all connects
Mm.
with what I do as a day job and what I also do as a day job now, um, which I kind of try and get that
Mm.
mix of work.
It's authors, I think 99% of the time rely on social media. We're either our own profile or we're in groups, and I belong to probably just under 600 Facebook groups. And if I go and post something, whether maybe it's about this or a competition I'm running, a competition I'm judging, and it's just full of people going, I have an ebook out, please go and buy my
Yeah.
book. Or I have a 20-year-old book, it's not doing very well, please go and buy it. Which is honest, but not necessarily the way that you would want to everybody to know that actually your book needs some work. Do you find, Damiano, in your day job, how much do you use social media? Is it still a big part of your
So
sort of
social media has been a big part of advertising marketing comms since 2007. Like since it started and since brands started to dabble in it. I feel kind of quite fortunate because obviously the work that I did in the creative world predated social media. Um,
right?
and then we had that whole crossover, and it was very exciting because we had these new channels in which to play with. And if you were lucky enough to work with brands who wanted to try them out, then it was lots of fun. I happened to work on a lot of firsts for a lot of companies when particularly when Facebook came out and YouTube, and then obviously when there are more channels that come out, it's like, oh, no, not another one. We have to kind of figure this out. But I think that across it all, there are principles that do not change, regardless of whether you're on social media or you're advertising in a more traditional way. The principles don't change. So if I apply um, if I apply that to myself as an author or to anybody as an author, we're a brand. So the author, as an author, we have a brand to promote, and that's ourselves. And our products are the books that we write. And um, lots of people, um, it is a big achievement in writing a book. Absolutely, I don't dismiss that at all. But you have to tell people about it, and there are different ways in how you can tell people about the fact that you have a book out.
Mm.
And I would split that into two. So, like if you yourself as an author is a brand, in which case when you're talking, it's like brand awareness. It's like any other company telling the world that they exist. And social media is good for brand awareness, which is why you'll find lots of authors trying to kind of break TikTok and be one of those kind of TikTok stars, which is why you'll find that lots of people build up their brand before they even launch a book. So there's a pattern in people, lots of book reviewers who build up an audience, um, build up trust, and build up their own brand. Um, so when they do launch a book, they already have an audience there, and when they speak, there's people who may or may not buy their book. But it's the same across the other channels like Instagram, X, Facebook. You can get lost in it. The important thing is to talk where your audience is.
Right.
You can waste a lot of time on all those different channels.
Mm.
And to be fair, until you know for certain what works and also what works for you, like bearing in mind, like you said, like lots of people are writing, but they have day jobs as well. It's like what platform works for you in the time that you have to
Yeah.
best build your brand.
Yeah, it's spot on when you're saying about the audience, because for me, I think TikTok is a younger audience.
Yeah.
Having said that, I did do a series. I put I think when I have 27 spotlights, I've got 74 now. I did a short little video, not of me, but just of a Canva video, saying that this is happening and if you want to take part. And that was fine. Had loads of views, had one or two, half a dozen comments, and nothing really untoward. And then I think before we had the first in-person Self-Pub Fest in April, I did another video. Again, that was just not me. It was just graphics, and then that was fine. And then I thought I need to get to do more on TikTok. So I every morning for 4 days, I was going to do it for a week, for 4 days, I went out and it was whatever was on my mind. It wasn't necessarily writing because from doing newsletters and things that it's you don't want to just tell people about your books. You want to learn, and this is why I do the spotlights and things like this, is that we are nice people. We've written something we believe in. And it's very as much as important to know the person as it is their writing. And then obviously once you've read a book, people will then come and sign up, hopefully, to your newsletter. But I was going out with my dog and only doing sort of 10-minute videos on whatever was on my mind at the time. And after day 4, the evening of day 4, I spent 2 hours blocking. And sorry, any American viewers, but they were on the whole American. Army majors, widowed, um, these chaps saying how beautiful I was and all this and all that, which is lovely, but I know it's not real and it's so shallow. And I spent 2 hours then going through them all and blocking them. And that's not what I want to do with my time. And so I haven't done it, not for any other reason as that I don't have the time. But I think for me and the ages of my characters, because in all my books they're 30s, 40s upwards, and I'm now writing an older series where they're in their 60s, because I do a lot of WI talks um, and I think they find my characters they tend to buy them for their daughters or sons or whatever, and I think Facebook is my audience. and it is very easy to spread yourself too thinly. Um, I've heard, choose one or two platforms. Instagram is great because it's pictures, but it is spreading your net too wide. Sarah, you work with various authors. Hi, Jack, by the way. Lovely to see you. Guten
Hi,
Tag,
Jack.
wie geht's?
Hello.
Um,
I'm in Swindon. I'm actually in
oh, are
England.
you? You're home. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Well, back here. Oh,
Yeah.
great. Sarah is new, and we had a little bit of a chat before we hit record. Who works with a lot of authors, so it's be interesting to see from that point of view what you do. So, Sarah, do introduce yourselves and yourself,
Oh,
and
yeah,
you're
hi, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here and meet you all. And this is such an interesting and important topic, I feel. So I founded a little company called the Author Bridge very recently, actually. It was in February.
Hmm.
And a lot of my clients are actually from the northeast of England, up in sort of the Berwick way, which is a
Okay.
beautiful place if you've ever been there.
Very fun.
And some of them are self-published, some of them are traditionally published, but what they share in common really is um, they need some help with their branding, their social media strategy, and generally their visibility.
Hmm.
Because I think what we've all been saying here is to be an author, you've got to be visible, you've got to be engaged on social media. But I think you're absolutely right, Morgan, when you say it's about identifying the right channels. So that is kind of part of the work that I do. So what I'll do is I'll start with an author and I'll look at almost like a really deep dive into who they actually are, what they write, what makes them tick. If they've written in different genres, what's the kind of red thread that runs between everything? And I love doing that bit of work because it's fascinating. I love getting to know people, and my background is actually in investigation.
Oh,
Believe it
wow.
or not, I've done 30 years of really gruesome historic investigations, murder investigations and stuff. So now I've turned that kind of strategic mind into this sort of field,
Hmm.
but combined it with the creative bit of me that was also always a bit suppressed in the investigation arena. So yeah, I do a deep dive into the authors and what makes them tick, and I read their books so I fully understand, what they're passionate about.
Right.
And then basically I work out, so who is their audience and where are they to be found? Because you're not necessarily, for a historical fiction author, for example, they might not be on TikTok, but equally, I think you do have to keep an open mind because there's perhaps a bit of a stereotype about the historical fiction audience, who they might be. Traditionally, they might be seen as older white men. But
Mhm.
actually, when I've been doing some work with getting people to read my author's books and engaging with people, I've actually found loads of younger women actually really interested in this stuff.
Hmm.
So I don't think you do have to keep an open mind, but I get what you're saying about social media can really drain your energy, right? And I think the story that you told there about what happened to you with TikTok is a real shame, because I think people would love to hear from you and what you're doing. Like this thing that you've created with the Self Pub Fest. I literally came across it this morning
Oh,
and I
wow.
was like, wow, this is amazing. This
Right.
is so cool.
Yeah.
Because one of my authors has been saying to me, basically, Sarah, it's not fair. Why aren't there, festivals for self-published authors? And I thought, well,
This is exactly why I set it up, because they're dotted around the country, but I'm in
yeah,
Aylesbury in Buckinghamshire. Uh,
yeah,
so the all days are for self-published authors to go on
yeah,
panels. So the next online is the 5th of July, and there's plenty of
yeah.
space for that because I've been pushing the October, and the October now is full for panelists.
Okay,
And that's Aylesbury. But the online,
yeah,
and this is all about publishing. So you can go on the website
yeah,
and have a look.
yeah. So
But
it's
the
good.
online hour one, sort of 45-minute hour in theory, hour ones, are open to anybody. So all your authors could take part.
Yeah.
But this is why I saw a gap in the market. I'd been to Troubadours. This was September, October last year. Been to Troubadour self-publishing conference in Leicester, and I'd been before. I'd talked a couple of times there, one on podcasting, one on competitions, and it is a push for their services, really. Even when there are talks about AI, it's held by an organisation who works for Troubadour or supplies Troubadour, and you can only get it if you buy it through Troubadour. So it is a Troubadour day, which is fair enough because they're hosting it. They charge £100 to go, and so I knew there was from having been in Aylesbury 3 years, that we don't have book festivals over here, and so we needed one. And who better to promote than self-published authors? Because even in other festivals not that far away, there's a choice of either if to get on a panel, a publisher has to supply you, or you pay for a stall. And I tried that all year last year, various events, and MK Lit Fest, which they're now touting the next one. In September, I had a stall there and actually lost money, and it was in a shopping centre. So you'd think that, and that was for self-published authors, which is great. But for me, I don't want to sit on a panel at a stall for 6 hours in the hope that someone's going to come up and buy a book. And what's more demoralising than somebody coming up and saying, "Oh yes, my sister-in-law would love this. Thanks very much," and then walk off. Whereas this is a festival. People are on a panel for an hour, and then they've got the rest of the day to network. And I pay them either a free ticket or money to charity if they don't need a free ticket. And so it's being self-published myself, I know how difficult it is.
Yeah.
There was a lady, I know we're going slightly off topic, but a lady. I look after the local book swap libraries, which is how I knew we had a really good reading community here. And it was in Treng, and she came along and she said, "Oh, I'm a children's author," and we got chatting. And she said, "I've gone round all the bookshops trying to get my books in bookshops." And one of them, she didn't tell me which one, but she said, "Oh, hello, I'm a local author." And the person went, "No, not interested." And that's all she'd said.
Oh.
Local author, no, not interested. And our one of the local bookshops has a local author's shelf, but it's probably as wide as my screen, maybe a little bit wider, but maybe a bit unfair. But it's at the back of the shop on the floor, so you literally have to go like that to see it. And so it's disappointing that independent bookshops won't even support us. But there we go, marketing. So.
And can I just say one thing as well about traditionally published authors, because there's a bit of a myth that traditionally published authors that are published by the big five get I nearly said a bad word. Get a lot of marketing thrown at them.
It depends. Really.
My husband works for HarperCollins. He works in production, but I get a very close glimpse into what goes on. One of my best friends is published by One More Chapter at HarperCollins, and actually the amount of staff they have in the marketing team is very small, and the amount of resources that go to a traditionally published author's books is a lot smaller than you would think, and they are encouraged by the publishers to do their own marketing. The problem is, I think people don't know what to do, and it's no longer sufficient to hold up a copy of your book and go, "Buy my book." You've got to create, interest and awareness about it, and talk about the themes, and do lots of other things, I think, to make it sellable.
Yeah. Well, Damiano earlier on didn't say the word. It might have been yourself. Didn't say the word exactly, but book tours, blog tours. And I think something you were talking about, reviews, and for me the most cost effective, because you're only paying the tour operator for their time, the most cost-effective way for me, apart from the fact that it gets reviews, are blog tours, because they're somewhere between sort of 60 and £100. And then you get put in front of reviewers who have a huge audience, anywhere between a smallish to huge audience already, who would love to know what they've just read. So I was going to ask, because we're now talking about, we mentioned covers. Jack, have you got any of your covers? I know you're not home as such. Have you got any of your books with you?
Yes, they're downstairs. I can go and get them.
If you wouldn't mind, I'm going to ask Damiano, because he's got his there. Because I'm always interested in, I know this is coming back to marketing. I'm always interested in people's covers, because readers judge a book by their covers.
Yeah.
But whether you put, because I'm just about to publish a book for a friend of ours, and we are, as unknown authors, we tend to put our names at the bottom. You get the likes of Lee Child, who a third of the book will be his name. Nice short name, which helps, being able to put it on one line. They have their name at the top, and people will take the day off when a new Lee Child or Martina Cole comes out, because they've been desperate for a year for this book, and they don't care what it's about, because they know what they love their writing. They'll read anything by them. I don't know Sarah, how important you think the layout of the book is. Whether we should be bold and say, Damiano, can you just, while we're chatting, can you hold your two up? Because your name's at the bottom, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold that.
I like those. So they're really grabby.
Go a bit higher, Damiano.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I can't tell from
there. We are. Yeah. They are, aren't they? Because you've got the name.
I like those, because they do stand out, and I think you have to look at what stands out. And I do think the covers are important. So one of the authors I'm working with at the moment actually had a lot of commercial success 15 years ago, but she's re-entered the world now and found that it's really changed. But in a way that she, like you've taken back some control by doing what you've done. She's also taken back control, because she has the rights to some of her books and can now publish them herself, and has paid a designer to get the covers redone.
Okay.
And actually, what she showed me is the first iteration with another designer was not great, and I had to sort of say, Jules, this isn't great, and how do you feel about it? And she's like, no. And then we decided to go with another person, and now they're so much better. And another person in my writing group is also getting her books published in September. And again, she's paid, for a really good designer. It does make a difference.
Yeah.
I really think it does.
Yeah.
I think as well, when you mentioned about authors' names being at the top and big, that kind of goes back to how well established you are as a brand, because it's the same. It's the same as any company releasing any new product. As a new author, what will sell is the product, not your name, because nobody knows you. If by chance, like over the years, you're incredibly successful, then your name sells the book rather than the product selling your name. And there's a switch, and it's a very different it's a different mentality, and it's something that you have to do differently, and authors do differently depending on where they are. I think when we're talking about marketing, and when we're talking about so if I kind of go back to how we work with brands, social media is good for brand awareness, but it's not necessarily what will sell your product. You can build up an audience of thousands, but they're not necessarily the people who are going to buy your book. And which is why you need to make sure that you're talking to the right people generally to have some kind of to try and get that more exact. That's when you're kind of entering into into the world of paid advertising, because then you can target. And I completely get that there will be people in all different circumstances who can't put anything in, so they're reliant, or they can put a little bit in. But if you are doing paid advertising, you are targeting your audience, or at least trying to identify the correct audience, and it's a bit hit and miss. Sorry, Jack.
Have you got
I've raised my hand because I'm a guest today. I'm not actually speaking today, but I've come loaded with questions.
Okay, yes, do, please do.
So
let's have a look at your covers.
Yeah, so I went the other way. I decided that yes, I am a complete unknown. Oh, hang on, I've got to switch off blur.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And it's backwards, but never mind. I am a complete unknown, but I'm preparing for the day when that is no longer the case.
Yes.
And it's also perception as well. And I wanted to be perceived as somebody who might one day become a non-unknown. So I decided to put my name at the top in relatively big font for my thrillers. And these are the first two books that I released.
But they are too genre, aren't they? That's another thing. We're told to write to market and have book covers that fit the genre.
Right.
So you've used the right kind of font. Very simple, but standing out.
I got these professionally done. I wanted professional covers. I think the cover is incredibly important. I made a lot of marketing decisions, and I've made unique marketing decisions. I haven't gone the same way as everybody else. So yes, my name is quite big and it's at the top because one day I'm hoping that will actually mean something to people. I then split off and did a romantasy. And I tried to publish this before the romantasy became huge as a genre. And I stuck with the original cover that I had back then, which we discussed this last time.
We did, yes.
It's not working. I've decided it's not working.
It does hint at fantasy.
It does hint at fantasy, and it is very appropriate for the book. But if you just go on Amazon and look at romantic fiction, romantic fantasy, the covers that you get are very, very different to this. So the last couple of days, I've actually been working on a new cover.
Okay.
So you can, again, backwards, but you can kind of see.
Yes.
So
it does feel more contemporary.
It does, doesn't it?
Almost a historical thing. The thing is interesting that you say, because as part of Brian Cohen's, it used to be Amazon Ads for Authors. It's he changed anyway, Amazon to Authors. Authors, yes, it used to be Amazon Ad School, and now it's Author Ad School because there's much more. He looks at Facebook and so on, and it's Brian with a Y, Brian Cohen in America. And it's very conscious because quite often when people are saying, and this has kind of become a covers thing, but it's all marketing. The first thing people see is covers, so it's really important. And whenever anybody in the Author Ad School private Facebook group has a new cover they're working on, they will then do a screenshot of the Amazon top 100 in their genre, and they will then say, right, this is the Amazon top 100 for romantasy, say, and these are two examples of my covers. What do you think? I think if they all look the same, it then becomes a bit of a Damiano may have advice on this, but I think if your cover stands out amongst the 100, is that not a good thing?
It depends. In my opinion, it depends. So what I've gone for is a splash of red.
Yeah, we can see it the right way round, by the way. You said earlier on that you're seeing it backwards. Yeah. No, you're right way around.
And because what I wanted to do, I wanted to bring it into the genre. The problem is that people have got possibly less than a second as they scroll through to see whether or not your cover might be something they're interested in. And although, again, I think this is a very, very good cover for the book because it is romantic fantasy, but it is medieval fantasy. No witches, no spells, no dragons, but
Yeah.
there's an element of the supernatural in there, an element of powers. Some people have powers, and it's limited. But the thing is that I've been watching, and this isn't getting clicks.
Right.
And if it doesn't get clicks, then they don't even get through to reading the blurb.
Yeah.
So it's the cover that's stopping them. I know it's the cover that's stopping them.
Right.
And I think this does better for the genre. I hope this does better for the genre. I would love anyone's opinion.
Well, out of the
So
two, I do prefer that one.
You
Can
do.
I just say, Jack, have you considered about the fact that you're writing in two very different genres, but you've got the same name? And I would be, I think if you were one of my authors, I'd be suggesting that you have a different pen name for the fantasy.
Do you? Oh, good. I'm glad you say that, because I'm debating whether to change Rachel Kavanagh for my women's fiction, because
I considered that, but what I didn't want to do was build a new website and then build a new reader magnet that was appropriate. And it might be that that is the best way to go, and I'm just being lazy about it. But at the
I
moment, I'm trying to write the third one in this series, and I'm trying to work on translations for them, and I'm trying to do the cover and the promotion for this one, and I'm getting a
I'd be
bit
interested.
overwhelmed.
I would say, Jack, that if you're writing in a different genre, I
I'd
agree
be
with.
interested to see what Damiano thinks about this.
Oh, sorry, Sarah, you cut out.
Damiano, carry on. And
Yeah, I agree with Sarah
Yeah,
that I think that if you're writing in two different genres, I would have two different pen names. Again, it goes back to who your audience is. If you've been building up a reader magnet and you have a email database and you're starting to have a presence online and social media or wherever, and you're selling thriller books, they're not. The likelihood is that you're not going to find your romantasy audience there. There might be some people who read across the different genres, but in the main, you'll not find that's not a big romantasy bucket of readers. And what you do risk is alienating the
Yes.
readers that you have built up, which is why I mean it's so common. I mean one of the most famous names, who has two names, is J.K. Rowling. Obviously, did the Harry Potter books, but then she has a completely. Is it Robert
Galbraith.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in her crime, and she's not the only one. There's lots of people,
Yes.
and then some of them only change it slightly, but
Well,
or use initials. But it's definitely the reason why you do it is because you're talking to different. You're talking to different audiences, which is again why brands have sub-brands when they're bringing out different products that are unrelated to their main or the brand that they're kind of most well known for.
I've got a question.
I did consider it. I know it is generally good practice, and I think so. This one has been out now since February. So, and I think what I'm seeing is what you're saying is that it's hard to not alienate either the fantasy readers, the romantic fantasy readers, or alienate the thrillers readers in my list.
Very simple question, or kind of statement, straight question. Could you not just write, because romantasy to me, I would think would be mostly female readers, would expect a female author more than a male author. Could you go Jackie Chandler?
I could. I've never liked the name Jackie or Jacqueline. That's why I changed it to Jack for the thrillers.
Or
I
just
could,
use
or I
your
could pick a
initials.
name entirely. I did think about using an initial, but I don't have a middle name. I would just be making up an initial. I did think about doing that as well.
J.A. Chandler, then you're Jack by default.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like initials in authors' names.
I think it's you. I was thinking there was somebody who didn't read. It put them off if they didn't know what.
Yeah.
I think though, Jack, that whatever your name is in terms of doing a different genre, that's cosmetic. and it's not that's the important. I mean, obviously you want a name that you're happy with, but it
Yeah.
is cosmetic, it's to do a purpose, and that purpose is to build up a different audience, which you can't do if people are saying, oh, this is Jack Chandler, the thriller or the crime novelist or the romantasy one. It's very difficult for those to kind of cross like that and to fit kind of well together. So it's definitely worth doing. I also prefer your second book cover.
Thank you.
By the way, and you are right that you absolutely want to fit within the genre. The trick is standing out within that as well. Because when you're saying that people are scrolling through and only have a second or so to click on your book, I think you also need to think about how visible your book is in the first place. So are people scrolling through on Amazon? In which case, there are millions and hundreds of thousands of books that are almost added every single week, or almost are added every single week. So the chances are, how are people scrolling and coming across your book? I mean, the challenge that I'm glad, Sarah, you said about traditionally published authors having the same issues as self-published, because I know they do. The advantage that they do have, though, is that they're generally in bookstores.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing for visibility. So people browse in bookstores, and it's lots of people's happy place, and then they can go through and see it.
Yeah.
I think if you're self-published and you're not in a bookstore, then the onus is on you to show your book covers in the best possible way that you can. And partly that is social media, but the other side of that is targeted advertising. That's when you have that's when you're showing your book cover and and you're telling people why they should buy it.
Okay, so
I mean,
again, this is another way in which I've been a little bit unique in my marketing plan. I have not done social media. I don't like social media really at all. I understand the concept behind it, but I don't like the way it's being used. So I decided to try with Facebook, and what I found was I couldn't keep up with it. So what I do Amazon ads. I'm going to do BookBub ads. That's another thing on my list. Um, but the other thing is that you're meant to find your ideal reader and then find out where they're hanging out. And I find that incredibly difficult for thrillers. Mine are thrillers. They're not even police procedural. They're not even crime. They are simply thrillers. I've got a private detective who's looking for a missing girl. I don't feel as though I have. I think an ideal reader would be me, a middle-aged woman. Um, but I don't think that necessarily, I mean, it's not like I could target particular groups. Um, I have thought about doing Facebook ads. If I did, I would target Crawley group, any Crawley groups, because it's set partially in Crawley, and anywhere where middle-aged women hang out. But
I think I think
thriller
Finding out where
writers
they are.
span massively. Everyone, male, female, young, old, everyone reads thrillers.
so Jack, I also write thrillers as well. And my the most success I get um, is through my paid advertising. I can't advertise on via Amazon ads because of the name of the title. So I've always done meta advertising, so on Facebook and Instagram, and you can put in your target audience. So you can specifically target people who are into crime thrillers. You can target people into watching thrillers on TV. You can even put in certain types of movies or TV shows and other authors. And with BookBub advertising, you advertise by you set your audience by author. So
Yeah.
you select authors who write in your genre. So you can advertise through BookBub as well, which I don't do personally, but I have like a limited budget. So I've done it on the platform that works best for me. Morgan mentioned earlier on that she was part of several hundred Facebook groups. You don't have to be part of that many, but there are Facebook groups that are there's a psychological a thriller Facebook group. There's the UK crime club as well, which covers the whole genre, and they tend to have really dedicated they have a really dedicated audience, so really engaged, and people who are commenting and writing every single day, and they're the kind of people that in your Facebook advertising, for instance, when you're putting in that criteria, you will be hitting them, and then obviously then it's on the strength of the ad that you've produced, and whether they like your book cover, and then you'll see the kind of click-throughs, and then it's the strength of the blurb, and your product description on your Amazon page, or wherever you're advertising, if it's straight to your website. But the audience exists, and you can find them, and then unfortunately beyond that, it's the more you put in. If your product is good enough, the more you'll get back, and it's your choice to kind of invest and reinvest in that. There's I've mentioned in a previous chat, I've mentioned this author before, and for you, Jack, he's interesting because he's a romantasy author. He's called Stephen Aitchison, and he has a brilliant TikTok page. You can join TikTok. You don't have to post on it, but he has a brilliant TikTok page where he talks about his journey. And he gives lots of advice about what's worked for him and what hasn't worked for him. And he's a self-published author who was also a marketeer, but looked at what worked. And generally it's volume. You need to have a good product, but then your second book sells your first book, and your third book sells the previous two. So if you imagine, keep it like, if you're doing £10 a day on advertising and you only have one book out, you don't expect to kind of make the money back. But when you're still doing £10 advertising and you have two books out and then three books out, then you start to see a return. Stephen Aitchison has cracked this really, really well, and he makes a profit, a five-figure profit every single month. In terms of yeah, that's profit. So that's not even that's taken away all expenses, because and he's not selling his books on TikTok. He's building his brand on TikTok. So he's talking about what he does and talks about all sorts of different things, but he sells his books through targeted advertising.
I'm just looking him up. This is The Witch of Scotland.
Yes, Witch of
Stephen
Scotland.
P. Aitchison.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll look him up. Thank you.
It's very much time versus money, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever you spend on paid advertising, I guessed, Jack, you were doing Amazon ads because you said about clicks, because that's the good thing. You can see what people are clicking on and what works and what doesn't work. But you don't know exactly who these people are. I tried Facebook ads, and I will go back to it again on the jobs list, because people can comment, and you can meet these people. You can see who's interested and who's engaged and what they're saying, which is great. And while they're running in the background, it's freeing up time for you to get on with other things.
If you're advertising on Facebook, my big stumbling block with Facebook is, first of all, they've changed so much recently. I need to relearn how to do it.
Right.
But the thing is that if I'm advertising on Amazon, I'm advertising to people who are currently looking for my comp authors or whatever keywords that I have put in, and they are actually looking currently that day to buy a book. If I'm advertising to Facebook, I'm not advertising to someone who's necessarily looking to buy a book.
No.
And I understand you get the marketing rule of seven. So you've got this, you want to see, you want them to see the same image again and again, so that, they will be persuaded. And that actually works. I tell you this is a silly story. Chris Ewans wrote a book called Safe House.
Yes.
And I was watching a TV series, and he had sponsored the TV series. So his book was shown at the beginning and the end of every single advertising slot. By the end of the episode, I bought the book. based on that alone, I bought the book. It was ridiculous. And I knew I was being ridiculous, and I did it anyway. And I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
But
he's a brilliant writer. I read his Good Thief's Guide. I think the New York one in particular.
Yeah. This was
Really
his thriller book. It
Yeah.
was something else. But you were laughing when I said Facebook isn't a place where people actually go, Damiano, why?
Because people are on Facebook to buy books, because there are so many groups specifically set up where people are recommending authors' books and picking up. But like Morgan said, so so all those points that you've mentioned as well with Facebook, it will keep on posting your ad, so people see it more than once, and they'll see it a third time, a fourth time, a fifth time, and you have to give it time as well. So you can't expect an ad to work within a week. You need to let it run for a long period of time, because also as a platform, it learns as well. It's learning who's clicking on your adverts. It's learning the type of people who like your ad, and it'll start to push it to more of the same people. But they do interact with the ads as well, and that is brilliant in itself, because they'll write a comment. If it's a good comment, you can like it, you can respond back. They might even recommend tagging other people. Say, I've read this book. I'll kind of tag in Morgan. Morgan, you should read this book too. And there are so many readers on that platform, and it's an older audience as well. In general, there is and you want an older audience to a certain extent. It has lots of people who have time on their hands to read, and they fill their time by reading because they've retired, for instance, and they're buying books. And they want to hear about new books because they've read so many. There is a huge audience there who are looking to buy books.
That's very reassuring. Thank you.
I suppose with Amazon, if you're looking to buy a book, but if you've got a screen with, say, 50 books as you're scrolling down, you've got that much competition. Whereas if you are the occasional, and you have a targeted audience already, because you've said you only want to appeal to certain kind of reader. I mean, readers generally, you're ahead of the crowd, because there'll be less competition on that Facebook feed. But I have, you're saying about buying, not necessarily advertising with your first book, you wait until you have another book. But I have heard that there are some readers who won't start a series until there are at least 3 books. And I know the two of you are working on your 3rd book. Sarah, you said you're a writer as well. What are you working on?
I'm working on a novel, which is, I'm not sure exactly what it is, if I'm honest, whether it's YA or some crossover, but I'm just taking the view that I'm just going to write it and see what happens.
Yeah.
It's my 2nd book. The first one was quite personal, and I decided to park it and come back to it later on. And I'm finding the 2nd one, because there isn't that kind of personal thing. It's just so much easier to write.
Yeah.
I did an MA in creative writing in 2016, which is when I wrote the first one.
Okay.
And then, I'm part of online writing groups and in-person writing groups. Sorry, is my connection bad?
It's a bit iffy, but we can understand.
I don't know why I have an issue with Zoom. I don't have any issues with other Google Meet or anything. It's fine, but
we can hear enough.
Like Zoom.
Damiano, I'm going to ask you a question in a second, Sarah. About
let me just try disconnecting from the monitor.
I'll move it anyway, Damiano, because you had your hand up.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I just wanted to correct something. So I do think you should advertise your first book. Absolutely. I just think you need to set your expectation. So as in most people don't make a profit from having or make money from having the first book out. It's like any other product launch. When a brand is launching their first product, they when they plan it and they do all their financials, they're planning to make a loss because all the upfront costs goes into creating the product um, and then advertising it and marketing it. But at that point, you don't actually have any buyers. They're coming once you start to do the advertising. So yeah, it is essential that you should market your first book. It's
Yeah,
just that when you have a second book out and a third book out and a fourth book out, they're selling, you're no longer just, you know, you're no longer selling one, you're selling multiple.
exactly.
And ultimately you're selling a series rather than a single product. You're selling a series of products.
Well, it's as Jack says, and as you know that, and I've heard this numerous times, that you have to see something around 7 times for it to really sink in. And if readers are seeing the first one being advertised and advertised and advertised, and they park it at the back of their head, their brain, and then they see a second one and think, oh yeah, I recognise the first one. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'll bear that in mind. And then the third book comes out, they're already familiar, although they've not bought it until the third book comes out, if they are the kind of person who will only wait until there are 3. But it's already become a bit of a friend because they've seen this so many times already.
Yes, yeah, and also like we talked about covers, and I know that's another topic at some stage, but like kind of Jack, you got your covers professionally done. I absolutely that everyone should, because again, if that's the first time or when they see it in an ad or whatever, that's your shop window, and if it doesn't look professional, then why would you expect people to spend money on it?
Okay.
Because they're not.
But this is me. I made this one, and I'm not sure whether or not it's good enough because I mean, like I said, this one I paid for,
Mm-hmm.
and these ones I paid for, but this one is just me, and I'm not sure whether or not to go with it because I do like it. I do think it stands out, and I do think it's true to the genre.
Yeah.
Do I go with it or do I try and hire
We
someone to
we
do
we
something better?
I don't know. I can't remember what Sarah said, but sorry, Sarah. But I think we both, certainly Damiano and myself, prefer the second one. I don't know about the middle scrolls because it's very busy. It's on a small screen, but even so, that's bigger than a thumbnail. Whether the side ones are just a step too far because you've got the scrolls in the corners and the
Yeah, it could be.
5-star utterly immersive, which I would put a bit smaller because it's right close up to the. You just got a message.
I know, sorry, ignore it.
It's okay. Whether you could make the review, because actually, if I see reviews, it puts me off a bit.
Oh, really?
And also, it doesn't say, because that could be your mum. Well, it wouldn't be in my case, but it could be your mum saying it subtly, and it doesn't say who's saying that. If
No,
it's
because
somebody,
not enough space.
yeah, you can make it smaller.
I did look.
Right
So
close up to the title.
I did look. So I've been looking at a lot of romantasy covers and they have a lot of swirls on them. There's
Yeah,
normally some sort of icon in the middle. So a
yeah,
talisman, a crown, a jewel, a sword. Swords are everywhere.
yeah.
Um, and then they've got the swirls around the side. And the author's name actually is normally very small. And
Okay,
they normally don't have any proof. What they do have, though, is normally book 1 of the
right.
something trilogy,
Yes.
which I don't have.
Is this a standalone? This one, or will it be?
I don't know if I'll do a second one.
Okay. You don't
I'm
want
getting the
romantic.
ideas for a second one. It's kind of pushing into my brain, and I'm sort of
Right.
resisting because I'm trying to write the third book of the other series.
Yeah.
You
You don't want to
realize,
say it's book 1 and then there only be book 1, but I mean
yeah,
it's
exactly.
factual because it's book 1.
Yes, but there may not be a book 2. Honestly, I'm leaving this webinar with a huge to-do list of I need to
Right.
make a website and I need to
Oh,
change my name for this book and I need
right.
to
Well, I did
relaunch
come
it.
up with another plan. Either Jack A. Chandler, so you've got the Jack as your initials, or Jack E. Chandler, which is then Jackie.
Jackie. I
Um,
didn't think of that. I don't know. I think,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, I
tricky.
think you're also right that you do expect a female name.
Yeah.
100%.
Um,
I mean, even if you don't like Jackie, it's
100%.
close enough
yeah.
to it.
I would say I know you expect a female name, but then I would just throw in Stephen Agenson in again, who
Yeah,
does write romantasy, who is incredibly successful.
yeah. I don't think it matters these days, really, does it?
Don't know.
Talking myself out of it now.
I mean,
I
I
know
actually
nothing.
am a
I don't
girl.
write romantasy, so I know nothing about it. Sarah, I was going to ask you what advice you'd give to somebody who is new. They've just got their first book published. What would be? It's a big question.
Mm.
What would be the first thing you would recommend a new writer with a say self-published because they've got nobody else to help them? What would be your recommended first port of call to get the book out there, to get the book?
One of the things I'd be recommending is to get people, friends, family, friends of friends. Think about your wider network. So we're all like going through our days. We have often other jobs, so we've got colleagues, we're members of sports groups, we're maybe involved in a craft activity or some. We've got, if you map out actually all the people in the different groups, there's lots of people that you could get readers from, and then get reviews, because building those reviews, I've been working on that with one of my authors, and it really does make a difference. You'll see sales will really start to rise once you've got some of those 5-star reviews behind you. And it's not difficult to get like reviews for Amazon. Once you think about your network, people are happy to read books, and if you've got free copies, or you turn it into a competition or something, there's lots of ways you can do it.
Yeah.
Then there's obviously people who review books for free. There's, if you go onto Instagram, there's lots of posts about different people who will. I can always dig out the one that I found and then maybe share it via email with you, Morgan, or something.
Yeah, I can.
A woman broke down like all the different reviewers in the different genres, and they're all happy to be approached. So people will read stuff for free.
Yeah, I'll add it to the notes when this is
Yeah, there's you can find people that are blogging about your genre as well, and they will often agree to host you on their website, where you write a little article maybe about the inspiration behind your book, a little bit about the book, and they'll put your links and everything. That's really cool, because I think one of the things you really have to do is like engage with other people. It's the engagement with other people and other authors often that will spark connections, and you'll be surprised what can come out of it if you just start talking to people. I know you're not keen on social media, Jack, but there's so many lovely people out there, honestly, that you can connect with, and all those readers waiting to find your book. I would be
I do
looking
have
at as
a
well.
newsletter list, and I hear back from, bless them, my subscribers do email me, and I talk with them. It's just social media. I'm just not good at.
Well, I was
Just
going
But
to
don't
say,
take the time for it.
you could be good at it, Jack, with a bit of help, I feel.
I was going to say about newsletter swaps, because I've done that in the past, where I mention somebody else, and there are people who organise this as well, where you can swap. You mentioned their book on your newsletter, and as I said earlier on, your subscribers don't necessarily want to hear about you all the time, with you and your books all the time. So if you're doing newsletter swaps, you're going to a new audience for no real effort other than you mentioning somebody else on your who writes a similar thing. So you could build that up, Jack, with your romantasy. Find other authors, and there's like book talk. That's a big hashtag, and bookstagrammers. So they're the book community on Instagram. So if you went on, just looked for the hashtags on that.
Can I ask? Oh, sorry.
So I was just going to raise a point, something you do need to be aware of, and be slightly cautious of. So, of course, get family and friends to read your books, buy your books if you can. When it comes to reviews and it comes to Amazon, that just a note of caution that they do not like it if they can trace someone back to you as an author. So if it's a relative or a friend or family, they'll remove it. If anyone's is on the KDP, which is the Amazon publishing platform, on their community blog, every single day there are people who are talking about their accounts that have been terminated. And generally, it's to do with manipulation or review manipulation, and people are having lots of reviews and ratings just removed from their page because of how they have come about them. They're even cracking down on certain websites where, again, the whole pay for review is frowned upon. I think a few years ago they got stung heavily, and they're much more cautious now. So, like Sarah said, there are lots of bloggers in your genre as well, in specific genres, who you can contact and you can give them a book. They often say, when they write their review, they will say that I received a book from, but you haven't paid them.
Yeah.
And those reviews are allowed, but anything it says, like, if a family member did post a review, just make sure they don't say that my aunt or my friend or my,
Yeah,
like,
you've got to use common sense. Obviously, that's why friends of friends are better. And I guess, like, I target people that I know have a genuine interest in something. So maybe I'll go to a talk done by a historian, and then I'll approach them and say, like, I can see you're really obsessed with the Romans, would you like to read this book, or something like that? So someone's got a genuine interest in the topic, because then you're off at the races. I think you've got a head start. But there's two other things that I think it's worth considering. One is having an author website, because it very much acts as a credibility hub, but you can also make it act as a marketing tool as well by having, kind of unique content on there. You can have backlinks, which helps with SEO. So the way we search for things now has massively changed, doesn't it? When you do a Google search, you get the AI review at the beginning, right? And everyone reads the AI review and goes, oh, yeah, that's helpful. But you don't then necessarily go and click on the links. And so you have to think about that now when you're creating an author website. You want to create something that's got structured data, so headings, maybe some questions and answers. And I think, Jack, that would be a way that you could deal with the two genre thing, is that, maybe on your homepage you'd say something like, hi, I'm Jack Chandler and I write romantasy as Jackie Chandler and thrillers as Jack Chandler. And then you can have separate pages, and you can really make it neat and tidy and very clear about the different genres.
I have that.
You've got that. Brilliant.
I do have that on my website. If you go in, there's an option saying, are you interested in the romantic fantasy? And then there's a cover of that. Or are you interested in my thrillers? And then it revolves around the covers of the thriller books.
Nice.
But I don't have a reader magnet for my romantasy. And I don't have a special website for my romantasy. And that's the question of whether or not I need to do that.
So, I mean, a quick reader magnet for your romantasy would be to write maybe a short story or a little blog post about what inspired you to write the book. That wouldn't take too long. And that might be a quick magnet strategy.
Damiano is actually in the process. He's parked his book 3 at the moment because he's writing initially a reader magnet.
Yes. I'm writing a short story, still based in the same world and the same series, but it's a fun little short story I wanted to write based on 2 minor characters that appear in the first book, and it's just going to be a lot of fun to write. And the purpose of that is, like Morgan said, is to use it as a reader magnet, and then once it's served that purpose, then it'll still be up there to purchase once I've used it as a reader magnet. And yeah, it gives, I guess, while people are waiting for the third book to come out, it gives them something to kind of get their teeth into.
So what you mentioned this before we recorded. So I thought of the question, that what will you do to entice people to sign up if you no longer have that reader magnet for free? What will you have something else as a if you sign up
I've done,
you get?
yeah, I think you could do different things. So I think when the novella uh, before the novella comes out, which is going to be called One Last Throw, I will post about it, and I'll probably boost that post and say anyone who signs up to my newsletter before the next date, whatever, will sign up to my newsletter before the X of X, whatever, to receive One Last Throw. Before it comes out before it goes out and sell, and then hopefully that will entice people. In the past, before Karma came out, before the publishing date of Karma, I ran a little competition just for subscribers. So anyone who subscribed before the publication date randomly choose a winner to receive a signed copy of both Bastard and Karma. Often people just send out little excerpts as well of teasers of future books, but there are all sorts of little things that you can do to try and entice people to subscribe, because then obviously that then it makes it easier to market to a group of people who are invested in you as an author.
I like the idea. Every now and then you'll see, usually a top author will run a competition where they'll name a character in a future book as one of the people. They'll pick a name out at random and then create this character with the name, which I think is always a winner.
Yes, I've seen that too. Yeah.
I do a charity sell. So I sell certain characters once I've written the book. I sell certain characters to anybody who wants to buy them, and then they get their name. So, for example, if I sold a character who is a detective sergeant, and Morgan, you said that you wanted that name, then
Right.
it become Detective Sergeant Morgan Bailey.
Okay.
And then that all of that money, 100% that money goes to a charity that I've chosen.
That's a great idea.
I'm just laughing because I used to be a detective sergeant.
There you go. You'd be perfect.
Yeah, dear Sarah Kirwan in your next book, Jack.
It works very well. I mean, it's also a little bit of a marketing thing because the person who has their name in it is then interested. But also, if they nominated someone, so a girl I know, her son died and she wanted his name in the book. So I gave him quite a large character who appears about 3 or 4 times, 3 or 4 different chapters in the book, just because it was such a sweet thing to do. And so she gave me the money, and then, of course, she then goes to her friends and said, "Look, my son's name is in the book." So it does work for marketing as well, but it's just a way of giving back, I think, for what I call innocent bystanders. They're characters who don't die off, who aren't nasty, they're not horrible in any way. They're normally people who my hero will interview for something, or comes across for something.
Yeah.
So,
well, we're going to wind down. We've gone over the hour, which is fine. No, you're absolutely fine. No, I could just carry on the rest of the day. It's absolutely fine. I mean, David Wake is my longest spotlight, and I say we only stopped because we were both thirsty and hungry. At 2 hours, 23 minutes and 53 seconds. So we could go for another hour. Wow. But I am looking, because there were originally going to be 5 of us, and so I'm hoping either Tuesday at 6, so tomorrow at 6, or Thursday at 6, we'll run this again, and have loads more. I can talk all day about marketing. So for me, I think the thing that currently works for you best, if there is one. So I will go with mine, and we'll go Damiano, Sarah, and Jack. For me, I found in the past, and I'm going to be doing again, is blog tours, where I pay a tour operator somewhere between 60 and £100, and they for their time, so I'm not paying for the reviews, which is against Amazon's terms of service, as Damiano rightly pointed out. And then they already have their contacts who already have a following, and I then get reviews. I use Canva, and so then I can do pretty posters that have these reviews from current respected reviewers, that I can put, and I have them on my book. So there's one on the top of O. Henry there, and I can use them for social. Somebody else has said that they like my book. I mean, this one, the Serial Data, I call my Marmite novel, because when it came out, it was traditionally published at the time, 2018. And I call it my Marmite novel because I don't look at reviews now, but I looked at reviews then. And there was a 1-star, read it at 11 o'clock at night, didn't lose a wink. And it said, I don't normally leave reviews, but this one was so bad I felt I had to. And I just sat there laughing. The same book in 2018 was Karen's World. She was one of the bloggers. Karen's World's favourite book of the year. So it's, my Marmite. Exactly. So for me, it's blog tours. Damiano, I'm getting Facebook.
I would say targeted advertising has been the most effective way to drive sales and drive readers to the books. It's been hugely effective.
Right. And Sarah, from you on behalf of your clients as a whole, whether that's too bigger or you have different, it depends on what areas, non-fiction, fiction.
Yeah, it's early days, but I mean I do agree with the targeted advertising, definitely. But I also think just engaging on social media on the right channels, getting to know people. Because publishing is such a small world, and even if you go to an event and kind of engage with the author at the event who's in a similar genre to you, and then you build up a relationship, and then they repost some of your content, you're reaching a huge amount of people. I think I did a post when I went to Harriet Tice's launch of Witch Trials, just locally in Staines, and she liked my photo. I had a chat with her at the event. She also liked my photos and then reposted it, and it was got over 2,000 views, which just shows you the power of social media if you use it properly.
Yeah, publishing is a lovely, very, very small percentage. 0.01% of people aren't so nice, but I think that if you go to, I'm off to Capital Crime in a couple of weeks. And that's I think one of the best aspects of being in publishing is how lovely everybody is and how supportive.
Yeah. And I do think, in a world of AI, the human connection is going to become even more powerful. So I really think that showing up as your authentic self and being a kind human being is going to count for a lot. Yeah, and why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Lift other people up as well.
I was going to ask you earlier on, Sarah, because you're a new business. I will be doing a session on scammers and spammers, because I probably get at least 4 or 5 emails a day from Victoria, I don't know, Gimble@gmail.com. Hello, I'm contacting you on behalf of BookBub. And if you go on BookBub and they say, no, we never, it will be from a bookbub.com domain. And so I have a really sarcastic, quite a long, that they have to sit and read through. Quite a sarcastic, and every time I get something new, so I've had J.K. Rowling, I've had Malcolm Gladwell, I've had all sorts of different Susanna, the Hunger Games, Suzanne Collins, who couldn't even spell her own name as Suzanne Collins. The real one is Suzanne Collins, from a Gmail. Suzanne Collins 242 @gmail.com, whatever it was. And so I just copy and paste this thing. People say, oh, don't bother, because they'll know then that it's an active email address, but I don't care. I just like sending it. And there is a bit I say that that if you are really this author and you can prove to me you are this author, then great. If not, I suggest you go and get an honest day job. And so I don't mince my words. But yeah, I'd love to have you back for scammers and spammers. And just say briefly, how do you deal? How do you? Because obviously, if you're approaching people who haven't worked with you before, how do you come across as being real, as being you, and not yet another person who's going to fleece people?
I'm honest about my background, so I suppose being, the former detective sergeant, and if you Google me, I've been in a documentary, and
right.
I've written a significant report about historical abuse. I've got a bit of a backstory that's credible.
Yeah.
But I think, just when I like the human connection, so I went up and met all of my prospective clients face to face, and just it was just myself, and just showed a real interest in their books, I guess.
Because I think these days we have become skeptical. Anybody who's going to I haven't really had anything to do with Self Pub Fest, because I do try to word certainly the subject line, so it comes across as being honest. But I either get a dear author, and again I put that quite I do have a name, or you can tell from the subject line that it's just, oh, here we go again. It's going to be one of these. And so here I am offering this service for free. And these days, I think we've become so skeptical. And sorry, Jack, I don't want to put you off social media, but there is so many. If somebody says, "Oh, I've just written this book, can somebody help with marketing?" Then all these generic photo profiles often with first like Jack Henry or Diane Susan, or often two first names as whole names. And it is a minefield to know that there are, who are these genuine people. And I just go, at the bottom, I say in my email, I only work with people who've been personally recommended to me. Remove me from your mailing list, in bold. And then in capital letters, no reply required or wanted. And then just put Morgen with an E at the end. And most of the time they don't come back to me. Every now and then they'll go, oh, I totally understand. And I go, well, no, actually you don't, because you haven't read the bottom that says I don't want to. I'm a genuine person. Yeah. There we go. So Jack, how is Amazon ads working? Is that your go-to ahead of going on social media and actually dealing with people?
I'm struggling with Amazon ads a bit with regards making money.
Right.
But again, I've only got 2 books out in that series, and I haven't done any Amazon ads for the romantasy yet because I've been thinking about changing the cover for a while, and I'm not going to invest in ads for a cover that may change anyway. The great things that I did, I got BookBub feature deal, which was fantastic.
Right.
I do promotional newsletters when I do a launch, and I've found that very good. And otherwise, I'm always doing these book funnel swap things.
Right.
Promos, book funnel promos.
Yeah, that's on
I
my
find they're very good at boosting my mailing list. And every time I email them, I then lose some of those people who decide they don't want to hear from the author. They just wanted the free book, and that's fine. But I mean, I started with, I think, 170 people. I basically, again, I did what you're not meant to do. I dumped my entire contacts list onto my mailing list, sent them an email and said, look, this is what I'm doing. If you want to unsubscribe, that's absolutely fine. But if you're interested in following my journey, this is, why I've included you in this list. But I'm now at over 1,200 people.
Wow.
And that is largely due to BookBub and I would say the book funnel promos.
And which mailing list are you with? Because I was with MailChimp back in the day, and then I went to MailerLite.
Yeah, I'm on
But obviously,
MailerLite.
you don't want, as far as newsletters are concerned, you're paying for every subscriber, especially once you go over a certain limit, 500
Yeah,
and 1,000 and so on. So
yeah.
you don't want to be paying for people who really don't want to hear from you.
No.
So A, which platform do you use? And B, what was the next thing? Okay, start with that one. I did have a part B.
I'm with MailerLite, and yeah, every now and then they have to upgrade me. But I also have an automation that runs for people who are not interacting with my newsletters.
Right, yes.
So if they've not opened or clicked on newsletters, they've received a certain number, they've not opened or clicked or interacted with a certain number of newsletters over a certain period of time, then they're automatically removed from the list. I then put them on another automation that says, "Do you want to be here?"
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to, and it's fine with me if you're not here,
Yes.
but you know,
Yeah, no point going into a black hole.
no,
I must
exactly.
admit, I'm
So
one of these ones. I have various folders, so everything comes into Gmail, and I tend to just click, 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 drag it into that. I don't read any that I get unless it's something to do with new marketing or something. So I have a reading folder and a marketing folder, and Alessandra Torre, I think her name is, amongst others. And they just go in. So every now and then I get, "Do you really want to be?" And I go, "Yes, I do." I will get around to them eventually, but yes, I do. So how often do you send it? Because I've got three, in theory, three mailing. I haven't done a mailing list for a while. I have three mailing lists. So when I go to events, I have I can't see any here. I have just a sheet. It's like 4 to an A4 page where they can tick to sign up to the crime fiction, women's fiction, or non-fiction. And so in theory, I said in that case, you won't get any more than 3 a month. If you sign up to all three, one a month per genre. How often do you email out? Are you fairly regular, or it's when you have something to say, Jack?
no, I think consistency is key. I email always on the 21st of the month.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good. That's
I like the 21st of the
right.
month because it's the winter solstices and
Right.
it's the summer solstice, but it's also the spring and autumn equinoxes.
Right.
And I really think that they're a wonderful time to take stock and think about what I've done the last quarter, what I want to do in the next quarter. And that comes across in my emails. I give that reason for why I've chosen the
Part of
21st.
your branding, Jack.
Sorry?
It's part of your branding then.
It is, yeah.
Nice.
And then I email about my books when I'm writing, but I also email just about what I'm doing, what I'm up to, any thoughts that I've come across recently.
Yeah.
I just chat with people basically. I just don't do it on social media.
No, no. Damiano, you're in the process of reading of creating your reader magnet. What newsletter system do you have, and how often do you?
So mine actually is relatively simple because I haven't done a great deal with it. So I created my author website via BookBub, where they give you um uh it's just a real easy way of putting a site together. And part of that's a mailing list, and you can pull in from MailChimp and from others, but you can also build up your own mailing list within that platform.
Oh wow, because that is
Um,
one of the biggest. Certainly, newsletter for this is on off as Jack got her promotion. This is because I get them in every day. I do just file them under ideas, but because I like looking and seeing what other people are writing, and so it goes in a general ideas folder. But yeah, I didn't even know that you could have a page as such on their website.
Yeah, well, it's not their website so much, but obviously you create your own, but it's via BookBub. It's one of their offerings
Okay.
that you can do. So you create your own website. It exists as like DamianoPolcaro.com. So it could be,
Oh, okay.
So it's like that. It's just that they provide all the back end support and everything, and you just build it up depending on what you want to have on it. It's a real simple way of doing it, and part of that functionality is building up a mailing list. And in terms of how often, probably not often enough. But that said, initially I was thinking, oh, I have to do this like once a week, and then it's like, no, actually, I only have to do it once a month. And so I will endeavor to make sure that I do it once a month. And actually having a date like you have, Jack, is great because it just makes it easier.
Yeah, especially not on the first of the month, because I'm sure everything piles in.
Yeah.
First of the month.
Yeah, so it could just be a random date I'll choose.
21st, it seems to work.
21st is excellent. There's a good reason for it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well,
Can I ask which book bloggers you use, Morgan? Because I was told that book bloggers doing a book tour was excellent before, but it is now too much work, and people don't say that they get the results that they used to get, say, 3 years ago.
Right.
So I'm curious to know, you're the first person I've spoken to who says that book tours work well for you.
Okay. Well, they did in the past. I used to use a lady called Sarah Hardy, but she doesn't do them anymore. I'm just looking at find the email. Zulu is one of them. I'm just going to look at an email I sent to a new to self-publishing. Blog tour operators, there we go. He's a non-fiction author called Malcolm Alexander. Love Books Tours. That's kellylacey.com, KELLYLACEY.com. She runs Love Book Tours. So these are ones that have been recommended to me. Zulu Book Tours. So that's zoo as in the animals. Loos, LOOS, booktours.co.uk, based in the UK. And then Rachel with an S on the end, random resources.com. I think she was one of the blog tourers when I did Henry back in the day. And then random things. So it's random things through my letterbox.blogspot.com. I used to use Blogspot back in the day, early noughties, 20. How long have I been going? 2012, I think I started blogging. So that's random things to us. So those are the 4 that have been recommended to me.
Okay, thank you.
But the thing is, if you go on Instagram and just search for blog tours, you will see a lot of, and generally the tour operators will create them for you, is they'll have a bit like book tours where you go to Warrington one day and Durham another day and so on. There'll be on Instagram they're square, where you've got, say, Della Goulton, and the date and who is going to be releasing the review, and that's what you tend to do. You'll arrange a week, say, anywhere between sort of 3 days and 10 days, I think. Obviously, the more there are, the more expensive it gets. And then once you've agreed the week, or whichever date suit you, then they will set up these blogs. Reviewers, and then you send the blog tour operator your ebook. Very rarely you have to send them any physical books, but usually just an ebook, and then they will send them out to the relevant people who will then, so you can go up, you can have 1 a day for a few days, or 2 or 3 a day, and they'll appear on, and then you have a poster with when they're appearing where, and your book central or to one side. And then so if you go on Instagram and look for blog tours, you'll see who other authors are using, and you can then just click and read the review. You don't have any?
Don't have Instagram.
Oh yeah, okay. Yet.
But
Instagram is great because it's all picture led. So once you've got your new cover, you can go on Instagram for that one.
Okay, but is it a lot of work or
No, because all you're doing is you're contacting the blog tour operator. You're saying, "Here's my book cover. Here's my ebook," and
yeah.
then these are the dates I want. I've got a week off in, I don't know, the end of, you have to give them some notice. Got a week off at the end of July, say, and they go, "Yes, no problem. That'll cost you 70 quid, 80 quid, whatever," and then they arrange it.
Do you discount your book during that time?
Yeah, you can do.
So
Sarah, do you have an opinion
do
on that?
you?
No, did I? I might have done.
Okay.
But the thing is, if they're saying your book is great, then in a way, you don't want to make it too low.
No.
But I'm of kind of, well, if it's 99p, this is the advice I've given my friend who's just I'm releasing his second book for him, is it's the old pile them high, sell them cheap thing, where strategy, Damiano, be interested in your opinion on that, is if more people are likely to buy your book at 99p than at 4.99 or 2.99. There is the school of thought that if it's too cheap, it implies it's not very good quality. So you can't win regardless. Um, but people are more willing to take a risk on you if it's 99p. If some people have the first in series at 99p and then the others at 2.99, 3.99, 4.99. I have this one, I think is 2.99. It's a full length. And then there's subsequent ones are novelettes, so they're under 20,000 and they're 99p. So it's kind of the wrong way round. I should have them, but you have to be introduced to the character and find out who they are first and
Yeah.
get to know them before he then goes off on these different adventures. So Damiano, what do you think about pricing?
I think that if there's a reason to reduce, say, your first book, like you have a new book coming out, or maybe if you are doing a book tour, then do a Kindle countdown
Mm.
deal, in which case it's reduced for just for a short period of time, for 7 days max. Thinking the main, keeping it at 99p if it's like your first novel. I wouldn't recommend, again, because of the same reason. The reason you mentioned, Morgan, sorry, about people valuing it, valuing the book. It's the same way that I would never put the book for free or do any of those free giveaways, because um, I think there has to be a certain amount of people less likely to read free books. They collect them,
Yeah.
and they'll have hundreds and thousands of free books because they were for free. Often you read on sites that on blog sites that people have given their book away for free and they haven't had any reviews and stuff. But you're more likely to read a book you've paid for first, at least, rather than read the collection of free books that you're just. I mean, book lovers are collectors in one way or form, whether they be like physical books or even in ebooks. I think if you have a big back collection of books, maybe giving a book away for free might work, or if on a featured deal with BookBub, for instance. I know that works for some people, but generally, yeah, reduced to 99p for a specific reason rather than
How much are
as
your
a
two? How much are your two
so they're
as ebooks?
for ebooks, yeah, they're quite cheap. So normally Bastard is 1.99 and Karma's 2.99.
Okay.
I've actually put Bastard on a Kindle countdown deal this week for 99p.
Because Karma's fairly new, isn't it?
It's fairly new, so Karma's only been out a couple of weeks. So it's partly to kind of get people to buy both, which is the intention. So like if you see it for 99p and you're new to the series, then Karma's just there to grab. But normally, yeah, they're £1.99, £2.99.
It's another thing to bear in mind because Jack and I do Amazon ads as well, and the trouble is Amazon ads is, and I'm sure Facebook ads is the same, where it's almost a full-time job because you've got to then, for Facebook ads, you go and have a look and see and interact with people. On the Amazon ads, you've got your daily reports, who's clicked on what and which keywords are working, and so on and so forth. But the thing to bear in mind is that if you're only listing your book for 99p, but every time somebody clicks on it, it costs 10p, you only need 3 or 4 people to click and not buy a book when you're losing money. Whereas if it's I think it's $2.99, $1.99 upwards, up to $7.99, I think it is, you're then earning 70%. So then you can afford to be more flexible. So it's really not easy.
No, I priced mine at the first one is $2.99, the second one is $3.99. And I honestly can't remember about the romantic fantasy.
Right. That's okay. Well, it's again, it's new, so
yeah, it is.
It's trial and error, I think.
I think it would be $2.99. I think I put my first ones at $2.99.
Because the great thing about being self-published is that we can do whatever we like. So if we put it down to 99p for a month and see what happens, then if you sell 1,000 copies, I don't think I've ever sold 1,000 copies of anything, but there we go. If you sell so many, but again, if people go, oh, that's normally $3.99, but I've got it for 99p and it will go in my to be read, then yes, you're getting the 35p if they've got it generically, rather than through an advert. But then if they're spending, husband, well, he loves sci-fi, so he'll go and he'll buy his favourite authors first, and because they only write once a year and they all tend to come out at the same sort of time. Neil Asher, Mick Herron, crime. And then once he's read those, he'll then go and look at the blurbs and he'll download the sample, but he won't pay any more than $4.99 for a book unless it's somebody he's heard of. And then it's kind of almost, it doesn't really matter unless it costs more to buy a Kindle book than it does to buy a paperback. And that really irks me, J.K. Rowling, where some authors charge more for a Kindle book than they do for a physical book. There you go.
Apologies, Morgan, and the group, but I'm going to have to.
That's okay.
Yeah,
no, we've run wildly over time. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Damiano.
Thank you so much. You've been ever so helpful to me. It was very helpful having this whole session, actually. I've come away with
I will run it again. I'm going to try and I've emailed out the 4 people who couldn't make it to see whether they want to run at 6 o'clock tomorrow or 6 o'clock on Thursday. And we'll see. So hopefully run it again this week. But I knew it's the thing that everybody in my all day in July and October, one of the sessions, the afternoon session, 4 o'clock, I think, is marketing. And it's the one that people really think most interested in, because it's how do you sell a book? So thank you.
So hard.
It really is. It really is. And lovely to see you, Sarah.
Nice to meet you, Sarah and Jack.
If Sarah, if you want to hang on after I've clicked off record, that would be great. Okay, thanks, Jack. Lovely to see you. Good that you're in the country for a little while.
Good luck, Jack. Good luck, Damiano.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.